Welcome back, everyone, to the Writer's Parachute, where we are guiding author and writer dreams to a perfect landing. And today we have with us one of my favorite special guests. We have Joe Famularo. We're going to be talking about his new book that is out now. It's behind me. It is My IOU Life Ship. It is part of the IOU Life Anchors for Young Learners. We're going to talk to Joe, and of course, we always start the show with our topic of the week. And I'm so glad to have Joe here with us talking about this topic. Last week, we talked about what are the forward and cover recommendations that people get a little confused with about reviews. Now, they sort of are a recommendation, they sort of are a review, they're sort of endorsement, but they're not really any one of those things particularly. So we talked about what they were last week, but this week we're going to talk about how do you get them and who do you ask for them. So I'm going to give you some basic outlines, and then I'm going to let Joe talk about it because Joe has been extraordinary in finding people to do the forward and the book recommendations for all of his books. He did a full book that you see there in the background. It's IOU Life Leadership that he got Stephen M. R. Covey to write a forward for him. And then his new series, he is getting David Newell from the Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood TV series to write a forward for that. So very impressive recommendations for his book. So that's where I'm going to step back. I'm going to let Joe give you some actual recommended advice. So take it away.
Thanks, Donna. Well, first, it's great to be here. And everyone listening, Donna is such a wealth of knowledge and a resource. So hit the like button. You won't be sorry. There's so much information here. So I look at having the two lists. The first list that everyone that we would like to have as writing a review or a forward. And then the other list is thinking everyone who you know and who they know, and maybe who they know who they know. So there is some kind of connection. And that's how I got a lot of my reviews, thinking the people that I know in my life and who they may know. So when then I send that email or letter to them, I make that connection that, oh, you're a friend of, or you know someone. But the key is to, write a nice welcome email or letter, and make sure that you put in that if you accept it, it'll be an honor to, have a review from you, that I would be happy to draft something for you, a draft review. And that's important, is to have that draft. So it's not a burden on the person that you're trying to get an interview for or a review for. So that's real key. And then have that ready. So when they say, sure, send me something, send it to them immediately. And most of the times they're going to take that as a whole. They may tweak it a little, but be prepared to write the draft of the person that is going to be reviewing your book.
No, that's excellent. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, see if we can dive just a little bit deeper. We don't normally go this deep on the topic, but this is such a wealth of information that we get from an amazing guest here. So what would you include in that first email? Would you send them like a summary of the book, or would you send them a few chapters, or would you send them the whole manuscript?
Yeah, I would send a summary because, at a first glance, the whole book might be overwhelming. Some individuals may ask for the whole book because they don't want to put their name on something that they don't, peruse or look at. But absolutely, paragraph, summary of the book, some key concepts in the book. And once you get that first, well-known or even, semi-well-known person reviewing your book, include that in that email that say, oh, I have this person. And then it sort of snowballs too. So you say that, so they don't feel that they're the only one, that I have several reviews. But you do want to give information on what they're reviewing. Again, bullet form, so it's not overwhelming. Again, be prepared to be able to send the book. And I think it's key that you're quick on the response. So if they say, yes, it sounds interesting, boom, send them the book, send them the draft. Be right on top of it, because if you put too much time between it, they lose interest. They don't think you're motivated, and then it's harder to follow through on it.
Okay, well, I have a couple of more follow-up questions. Shouldn't you pick maybe one or two people to ask for a forward or a book recommendation rather than an actual review? Because what if you ask several people and they all say yes? How do you pick?
Well, I was very fortunate to, as Donna said, mentioned, to get Stephen M. R. Covey. And once you get someone like that, it was actually pretty easy to get others. By the way, Stephen M. R. Covey wrote, "For would you like to write a review?" So, but to answer your question, yes. I mean, you could put forward or review. Um, they're two very different things. Obviously, a forward and a review. So, a forward, they're part of your work, and it's much more involved. So, I would shoot for the forward first and see if you can get that, and then follow up with can I have a few lines for a review? Again, a review could just be two sentences. It doesn't have to be a whole, paragraph and several lines.
Mhm. Right. So we don't want to go for everyone on the list all at once. We want to start at the top and work our way down until we get somebody
Absolutely.
forward, and then go back up the list and work our way through asking for an actual review. So that's an interesting concept. I do love that. And thank you for helping us out with our topic of the week this week. Of course, we love having Joe here. He is an amazing author, writer, educator. It's like the list goes on and on. We're going to be talking to Joe today about his new book, My IOU Life Ship, in the IOU Life Anchors for Young Learners series. It is out now. We're going to talk to him about that, and we'll update you on the rest of the books coming in the series. Joe has been an educational leader for over 30 years. He's been a teacher, director, principal, assistant superintendent, and superintendent of schools. Dr. Joe enjoys presenting on topics of teaching, learning, and leadership. He has a distinguished education background, holding a doctorate in educational leadership and technology, as well as having a teacher certifications in K through 12 mathematics, reading, special education, N through 6 elementary, and K through 12 music. He is an innovative leader, has positively impacted the New York and Long Island region. He has held many leadership positions, including president of the Nassau County Council of School Superintendents, president of Scope Board of Directors, co-chair of the New York State Council of School Superintendents Legislative Committee, and co-chaired NCCSS Legislative Committee, chair of the Education Advisory Council for Adelphi University, peer editor for the Journal for Leadership and Instruction, chair of the NCCSS Safety Committee, working closely with law enforcement on school safety. He has also worked closely with the Nassau-Suffolk School Board Executive Team and the Nassau Region PTA. Dr. Famularo provides leadership on the post-secondary level, teaching and serving as advisory boards of several colleges and universities. Dr. Joe and his wife live on Long Island, New York, and have raised 3 children and 2 dogs. Welcome, Dr. Joe. How are you today?
Great. It's always great to be with you. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome. So can we get a closer look at this book that's out now, My IOU Life Ship? Do you have one close by we can
Sure.
look better at? All right.
Yeah, there it is.
It is an amazing book. I love this book, and there's more coming. It is talking about kid anchors. But before we get too deep into all of that, why is leadership an important topic for kids?
Yeah. Well, I think that's important not only for kids, but for adults, because we have to lead ourselves first. We all have to be leaders. And that's such an important piece of living, to live with intention. And that's what leadership is. You have intention, you have clear goals, you understand what your vision in life is, what's your purpose, what's your passion, what's your potential. It's so key to think about what are your direction in life. And that's why I love, this book where it's My IOU Life Ship, that basically we're all a life ship on a journey in life. And is your ship strong? Is it solid? Is it built on in a foundation that can weather the storms and calms of life? So leadership is important for kids, important for adults. But it's, we think of leadership, we think you're always leading someone, that you're the boss. Well, it's the opposite. It's about leading yourself, inspiring others to be the best they can be. That's a true leader. So that's what this series is about. That's what IOU Life Leadership is about. And I'm just excited to bring it down to the kids.
Yeah. Well, I want to stop before we continue on. You have a nautical theme with all of these books. Can you give us a hint as to why that is?
Well, an inspirational person in my life and my family life was my grandfather, who it was in World War One, excuse me, in the Navy, and enlisted in World War II. And he was just a proud an American who served the country, but also was a very strong leader for all of us. We've always lived on the water and boating and fishing and doing all those fun things. And I think the nautical theme is just a wonderful analogy to life. And that whole idea of, again, being a life ship, and not only traveling through the calm and storms of life, but who's on your life ship? Who are the important people on this journey, to reflect on that? Are they all on your side? Are they supporting you? It's good reflection. If not, have them walk the plank, get them off your ship.
Well, I love it. And you do weave in these nautical themes so well with the story and the teaching. So I want to know what this particular inspiration was behind this children's book. I read your adult book and I know, but I want to know what was particular for the teaching of these anchors for kids.
Right. Well, I should say, because you're hearing a lot of IOU, and IOU stands for simply inward, outward, upper living. That it's this whole inside out approach to living. There's years of research. When I wrote IOU Life Leadership, I studied leadership books from 100 years and looking at what are the common themes. And they all start inwardly first. They all talk about, do you know yourself, who you are? Again, what's your inward living? What's your inward being first? Then that's inward, I, then outward living. Then you interact with others. That's outward living, having relationships. So there's inward living, thinking, and then outward living, relationships. And you hope the byproduct of those two is upward living, the you. So IOU is inward, outward, upward living. So the book is based on principles that are universal, timeless throughout the world. And that's what the book for the adults that you mentioned, IOU Life Leadership. And I wanted to write it for kids. So my IOU Life Leadership is for use in kid language, those same principles, to help kids to understand at an early age what's important, to understand that concept of knowing yourself inwardly, that there's more inside than they think. There's more talents inside. There's more skills inside, and that we need to work inwardly to pause and think before we respond outwardly. So it's that IOU lifestyle of living. So that's the inspiration, really, is to get that message to kids at an early age. And this book is the overview book, which really talks about all of those kid anchors. There are 6 inward anchors that this book refers to, that help kids to understand who they are and what their vision and passion is in life and what their goals are.
Well, I think it's amazing, and you do such a great job with telling these stories and getting these concepts across to kids. Of course, I'm sure you've had a lot of experience with all the teaching to get that point across, but sometimes these more complex ideas are a little more difficult to get across, and you've done an amazing job with that. So what would you like your readers to get out of this book, My IOU Life Ship?
Yeah. So again, so the first one is really understanding what you have control over, what you don't. And that's an important concept. And you can get that over with the book. So in the book, there's this one scene where the waves are crashing over the boat and the captain is holding the sails. So the line is basically, what can you control? Can you control the wind and the water crashing, or can you control your sails? So focus as kids. Kids say, oh, the sails. Right. So focus on the controls and don't just say, I can't believe it's raining. I can't believe you can't focus on that. We use the language in our school, carry your own weather. And what that is basically, if it's raining outside, you don't have to be sad inside. You carry your own weather inside you. It's sunny inside. So it's teaching, what do we have control over? We have complete control of our inward living. we have 100% control of when we think. So that's the one thing in life we do have control. So we need to teach kids more about, inward living and what they can control. They can control what they dream about. They can control the goals that they want to set. They can control their reaction to people. They can't control the outward world, but we can control the inward living. So it's about living with intention. And again, bringing it down to kid language with, illustration. And the book is beautifully illustrated by Vytautas Bakauskis, who is a very great artist, and really brings out all of those feelings of nautical themes and living inwardly and outwardly.
Wow, I'm glad you mentioned his name because I wasn't even going to try.
Yes.
And I do love this, that, it's not just about leadership. It's about them building their own confidence and making their own choices. And I know we've talked about this many times about, how kids kind of flounder, not because they're not intelligent, but because they don't have the information. And I think that's what I love about your books here, is you're actually empowering them with the information on how to achieve the things that they want in life, which sometimes is frustrating for kids.
They have more inwardly than they know. And that's like, we keep going back, what's the reason to learn things in school? Well, we try to explain to them. There's one great line here that basically talks about everything that they learned in school. They didn't know the reason why. So it's that I learned so many things in school, not knowing the reason why, but now I see I need them all. Without them, I couldn't get by. So it has a great illustration of all the things that this captain learned, compass, and learned about nautical things. And now they know why I need him to sail. So kids get it. Oh, so sometimes they learn things in class, say, why am I learning this? And I'm not sure the reason why. We got to explain that to them, that they have so much inside, they just got to be able to pull it out and have that confidence, as you said, that you can do it, just go for it.
Right. I love that. So I want to know if you could go all the way back to the beginning, before you wrote your first book, before you wrote this series. What do you wish somebody had told you, or that you already knew?
What do I wish that somebody told me? That's a great question. I think it's the organization of the process, right? So we all have great ideas. Everyone has ideas, but it's following through. It's taking them from a beginning to an end. And that's something that I learned, how to organize myself. We were talking about organizing a series, and that's so important. Otherwise, you start a project and you get so mixed up and overwhelmed, and then many people just give up and quit. Not so much on the creativity and the idea, but on the process, that it just becomes overwhelming. So that's something that became very, very good at, is organizing myself, having folders for each concept, reviewing it, having a master folder that has all the concepts to make sure that all the books are connected. So it's really on process, and organization, I would say, is the key when you're starting something new.
Well, yes, you're absolutely right. So what do you think readers are going to think of your book and your book series in 10 or 20 years from now?
It's funny. Each book, actually, one of the characters in each book, I'm using the names of my children. So, I think about that a lot, and it's really my story on these life principles that are timeless. And I hope that these principles will carry on forever, that they go back to these books and they see the importance of it. One thing I did a little different is in the back of the book, every single illustration has a description and deeper meaning, what I'm trying to interpret for each of the books. So in the back, there are these ideas and lessons for each illustration and words to give the deeper meaning. Concepts like what you have control over, about relationships. There's one scene where the character meets this big whale and is initially afraid and realizes that the whale is there to help the captain. So it's about relationships, about intentional living. It's about using the skills that you already have that many times we don't have the confidence. So, go for it. So, I hope it holds these universal concepts and themes for many years ahead, and they can go back, and that this book is timeless and will help many generations in the future.
Right. Well, I can clearly see this is going to be a timeless set of books that every parent, every grandparent is going to want to pass down to the next generation to get those concepts across to them, because it's often difficult as a parent, as a grandparent, to break down these thoughts and ideas. And you've done such an amazing job with them that I'm definitely probably going to go get a set of those and get them onto my grandchildren's bookshelves so we can get some of that stuff off to them too. So I want to know, what kind of obstacles or challenges have you run into in trying to write and publish any of your books, but particularly a series?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that goes into writing a book like this, and many times, you might have a way of going about it, and others may not. And that's what you find out very, very soon. That dealing with attorneys, I mean, I trademarked a lot of the concepts, so that's a whole process. Working with editors, having disagreement with editors, and you have your passion. I've disagreed with a lot of my editors, and I said, no, this is my vision, and that's okay, because ultimately it's your book, and it's going to be your legacy that you have to say. So, there are a lot of obstacles that during the process. I love to create. I wish I could just create and hand it off, and then just somebody hand me the finished book at the end, because the writing is the fun. But I keep it as fun. It's really not that bad if you just take it step by step. But that whole process of getting it to a final product can come up with many obstacles. I have another book coming out, and we're right at that end of stage where it's pretty much ready to get to a proof copy, which is very exciting. But the process, the last month and a half of changing one word, changing one little picture, and it could be a lot. So you got to just push through it, keep going, and then you'll have that finished product.
Right. It is always such an amazing moment. I don't care if it's your first book or your 100th
Right.
book, that moment when you open that package and get that first copy in your hands of that book is it's so thrilling and so satisfying. And you're right, there's a lot of technical details, and I always feel like when you mention about arguing with the editors, I feel like sometimes editors have to play devil's advocate, because we know at some point in time you're going to be doing a reading or a speech somewhere, and some parent or some reader in the back of the room is going, but why did you do that? So it's like that's
right.
sort of where we're coming from. It's not that we necessarily need you to change it. We just need to know that it's going to be somebody's issue sometime.
Right. As long as you could defend it, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter what it is, right? What are the
Well, and we're also challenging you to see if you can defend it.
right.
So,
Exactly.
we're tricky that way. We're
Yeah.
kind of like school teachers. We teach things when you don't realize it.
Right. Like being a
Well,
parent.
yeah, absolutely. So,
Right.
I want to know what advice you would give to other authors and writers.
Yeah. Just do it. Just start writing, and don't worry about the editing. Don't worry about if it sounds right. Just put it on paper. Put it on the computer, dictate it. That's how I wrote a lot of this book. The first book, IOU Life Leadership, was in the car driving to work. I'm very fortunate to drive along, it's called Ocean Parkway, with the ocean to my left for about a half an hour. But I got a great dictation app on my phone, and I dictated and dictated. So I think, again, what the thing is that, you think about all the things that stop people from writing, because it gets frustrating. Who wants to be frustrated? So you want to find that sweet spot where it's a little bit challenging, but you're coming up with new ideas. So just put it down. I would just say, just keep writing, and then take a step back, and then say, okay, what do I have here? Do I have the makings of a book? And then start focusing, and then, putting that laser on, and coming up with the ideas. But just do it, keep writing. That would be my advice.
Okay, well, and I'm going to ask you a bonus question here along that lines, because you kind of straddle the line between nonfiction and fiction. So how important is storytelling in both of those areas?
Well, yeah, it's very important. So both books, the first book, the nonfiction, each chapter starts off with my grandfather, who I mentioned before. So it's an introduction in his life, and it goes from when he came from Italy all the way up until he passed. And so there is a storyline there. So you need something to catch everyone's attention and make connections to the concept you're trying to get across. But with this book, being around children, being an educator, being a reading specialist, I've been around children's literature for my whole life, and it's a different way of thinking. You want to get that excitement. You want to make it fun, for kids. You want kids. So there's a lot of hidden things in this book where kids have to find. There's a bird that follows through all the pages. They have to find the bird. There's pages that have hidden letters within the nautical theme. So you want to make it interesting and fun. But there is a difference. I love both. I love the research piece of nonfiction, and I love just sitting back and just creating magical stories with fiction.
But in both, I always stand on this soapbox. No matter what you're writing, it's about telling a good story.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we're going to interrupt our questions here for a moment because Joe is a musician, as you can see, has all this stuff in the back, and he wrote a song to go with this book by IOU Life Ship. So we want to hear it.
All right. So let's see if so I've been reading the book in classrooms, and we want a little catchy phrase to remember IOU. Remember, inside is I, outside is O. So they're hand signs. You point inside for I, outside for O. So kids go, inside is I, outside is O. Up is the U that helps us to grow. So we have this little fun song. So we got inside is I, outside is O. Up is the U that helps us to grow. Inside is I, outside is O. Up is the U that helps us to grow. Then you got to repeat IOU. IOU, IOU, IOU,
IOU,
IOU, IOU, IOU. Good. Inside is I, outside is O. Up is the U that helps us to grow.
Amazing. Thank you
There's
so
a little
much.
short version.
I don't often get entertained and sing too, but that's amazing. That was worth the entire episode. So, that was amazing. Thank you. So we want to know what keeps you motivated. I know, but you can share.
The joy of helping others. That's really, I mean, I have a mission statement, a vision statement. I think that's what my book is about, and trying to inspire others to be leaders of themselves, leaders with others, and leaders of others. So it's just seeing the joy on adults and children now. When I go in and read this book to classrooms and sing with them, and they get it, and that's a beautiful thing. So they start saying, "Oh, Dr. Joe, I owe you," and they start singing the song. That's it. That's really that's my mission and vision in life, is to help others. So it keeps me motivated and present as much as I can, as long as I can.
Yeah, I think you're a modern day Pied Piper. All right. So here in season 2 of the Writer's Parachute, we've been focusing on reviews. So we want to show how easy they are, how important they are. So I'm going to ask you, write a review for my IOU Life Ship.
Yeah, so actually I just got a review from Long Island paper it's called The Author's Corner, and this was good. It's to read about a child's magical journey sailing through treacherous weather, high winds, and intimidating sea life on their IOU Life Ship, using the support and knowledge already inside to react to these outside forces. The result is seeing life in a whole new, inspiring way that can lead to incredible upward excitement, peace, happiness, and fun. A great book for all ages. So that's a great review to get. And
that's an amazing review, but I want to hear what your review is.
My review is a beautifully illustrated book teaching life principles for children. that are intentional, that are purposeful, that are needed for all of our children and adults to live a very life of happiness, peacefulness, excellence, and healthiness. So I coach actually that PH2E, and that's in the book, that we all need to get more PH2E: peacefulness, happiness, healthiness, and excellence. So I hope this book provides some of that and propels, again, that nautical theme, everyone, for more peacefulness, happiness, healthiness, and excellence.
Well, that is an amazing review. So we know you've got more books coming up. So what's next?
Well, there's 6 inward anchors, and so we have 6 inward kid anchor books coming out. So the next one's called IOU My Story, subtitle Who I Am. It's about Emma, who helps other children to find who they are, really looking at reflections in the water. Again, a lot of nautical themes, but understanding that we have so much inside of us that we need to share with others. So that's the Kid Anchor 1. And then Kid Anchor 2 is A Dreamer's Paradise. It's about setting a vision. What's your vision? What's your life? What's your purpose, passion, potential in life? So there's 6 of them, and I'm very excited. They're all basically written, but we're working with illustrators to get them all finished and get the whole series out.
Yeah, and you have a couple of dates for us. You said that you thought this my IOU My Story, Who Am I? We're looking at an August release date for that one. Is that correct?
I think we're on schedule for that. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
All right, awesome. So we'll try to get you a pre-order link for that in our show notes. If not, we'll make sure we get a link added as soon as we have that. We're going to ask him, where can we find your books?
Anywhere where books are sold. You can go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can go to my website, IOULiving.com. So it's sold everywhere.
All right. So if they go to IOULiving.com, will they be able to get a signed copy?
No. if they send me I could arrange that. I haven't have it set up right now, but if you contact me, we can work that out.
All right. Well, we will make sure we put some information for you in the show notes of how to contact Joe if you would like a signed or to purchase a signed copy from Joe. And we know that you're on social media. Can you let us know what platforms that you're currently on?
Yeah, it's at Dr. Dr. Joe Famularo at Instagram, Facebook, YouTube channel, Pinterest, all of the social media. It's just at Dr. Joe Famularo, same handle, if you will, and you can get me on all of those platforms.
No TikTok?
Not yet.
I think your singing would go along great on
you
TikTok.
See? I think that's you know what?
You now have the dancing little boat.
I think that's next on the list. Absolutely.
All right. And again, we will have all of those links for you in the show notes. So do you have any upcoming events or anything you'd like to share with the audience? I know we talked a little bit about some handouts and some lesson plans.
Yeah, so that's exciting. And, that if you go to IOULessons.com, you can go directly to take you to a link to give you lessons for the book that you see behind Donna and us. It's my IOU Life Ship, and they come with handouts that you can help children with them. They're, really very efficient lessons. So check that out. I soon will be putting up a video of the song so you could sing the song with the kids. But you can get that at IOULessons.com, or just go to the website and you can find it as well.
Okay, great. Well, we'll go ahead and have the link for them. Now, these are these teacher lessons, or these are just parent reader lessons?
They're really written in a way that parents or teachers can use them. I wrote them specifically for sitting with one child or sitting with a group of children. The handouts are great because the handouts were illustrated by the illustrator of this book. So if you print them out, you can print them in black and white or color. And they're replicas of scenes in the story that kids can write stories about. They can, one of the things on the ship is when we say, you have a life ship, and what do you carry on your ship? So there's these boxes on this ship throughout the story, and they bounce around. And in life, you got to keep your boxes balanced. Well, one of the handout is the little squares you can put on the ship of what's important to you, what's on your life ship. So kids can draw a picture older kids can write down what's important and put that on their life ship to remind them of the important things that are inside, again, the I in their life.
Well, that is amazing. We'll be sure to connect you to those. And I encourage any parents or teachers to go out and reach out for these. They are free right now, but that's not going to last forever. So if you are going to go grab your copy of my IOU Life Ship, which is part of the IOU Life Anchors for Young Learners, then I encourage you to go get these lesson plans. So is there anything else that you want to include?
I'm just very excited again. And I want to thank you, Donna, for all your support, in the process, which can be very difficult. And, you've helped me a lot in this process. So I appreciate everything you've done.
Oh, well, you're more than welcome. And we're not quite done yet. We're going to jump over and do our tip of the week. As Joe mentioned, he was having a little bit of issue with the publishing process. That's everything after the story is written. I mean, most people know you write the story, you rewrite the story, you polish the story, and then you send it to an editor, and then you work on it some more. But we're talking about after that happens. So this is a point where you need the illustrators, you need the book cover designers, you need the interior layouts, you need the marketing and the promotion people, you need the websites, the social media, all of those amazing things. And then when you go to a series, we just quadrupled all of that. Because now you have continuity issues. It's like the covers need to work together. You can see mine back there. When they're standing next to each other, you can see there's a color theme. There is a way to merge those together. That's something you have to think about when you're doing a series. Also, you have to think about how you're going to break up that concept but make a flowing theme, again, to create that continuity. You have to have some continuity with the characters and the themes. Now, Joe has reached out and he's going to have multiple illustrators, but they do have some concept of keeping that continuity there. So let's talk about that process. Process is the way we do things to get the result that we want. That means there's at least 1,000 different ways to get to Rome. I mean, they say all roads lead to Rome because they pretty much do. So if you're not working with a process well, then reach out to somebody that may have a different process that may work for you. It's complicated, it's complex. I do generally recommend somebody find a coach or someone that's knowledgeable that can kind of help guide them. That doesn't mean they need to hold your hand through the whole process, but you need somebody that you can reach out to when you're struggling or when you run into an obstacle you're not quite sure how to deal with. So, and series continuity is an issue. Again, that's something where you're going to want a really good editor that is familiar with working with series, because that is one of their process, is to make sure that that continuity remains. And, of course, as we always say, make sure you have a good team behind you. And this is part of the team. This is part of the team, is getting you through the process, because even though Joe's name is the one that's big in large letters on the front of that book, I'm quite certain there's a lot of thank yous included to the team that got him to the end. So just remember, it's teamwork. You're the leader, but find a good team. You'll get through the process. You'll get it all worked out together. We hope that tip is good for you for this week. Of course, we want to thank Joe for being here. And of course, we want to welcome him back when we have the next book or the next couple of books out. So we'll be looking for him again, maybe this season or the beginning of next season. And as always, I am so grateful and so thankful to be the host here on the Writer's Parachute. We hope that you find this a safe place and that all of your writing dreams come true as well. Until next time.